What's up, guys? My name's unCAGEDgamez, and welcome back to Inside the Cage. This is a little series I like to do where I talk about more personal things in my life. You were watching some Gears of War 3 gameplay. Why am I playing Gears of War 3? Because I like this game way better than Judgment. This is what happened when I played Judgment. So yeah, I will probably not upload a lot of Gears of War Judgment gameplay on my channel anymore. It's just, I might upload here and there, but it's just not fun to me. I like Gears of War 3 a lot more. This is my first game back on Gears of War 3, and I had a blast. Our team didn't win, but I got MVP, so that's great. But you can expect a lot more Injustice and Gears of War 3 videos on this channel. Anyways, back to the starting the story right now. My first Inside the Cage, I talked about asking a girl out to prom, and in this episode, I'm actually going to tell you guys what happened at my prom. The girl I asked out to prom, she went with me, so that was good. So I'm going to tell you guys what happened that night. But before we start with that night, we're going to go back the day before prom. The day before prom, I talked to a bunch of my friends, and there was this girl named Ellen, and I'm going to use her first name, not her last name, because, you know, guys really don't care. So Ellen was the prom leader, right? And she had to, we got the 20-seater table. There was only 4 groups that can get the 20-seater table, so we were VIP. We got the 20-seater table, so there was 20 people in our group. Ellen was in charge of, like, location where we're supposed to take pictures, and, you know, photographer, you know, get all that stuff set up. She picked the park Stony, alright, Stony Creek. She picked that park so we could take pictures. And I'm like, okay, cool. That park is near where I live. That's fantastic. I can take pictures there with my date. Later that night, what is it? My friend Ryan and Jake and all that other people, they said that we're going to Van Heusen Park instead. I'm like, Van Heusen Park? I never even heard of this place before. And he's like, yeah, we're going to Van Heusen now. I'm like, okay, well, fine. So I had to text my date and her friend and my friend that we're changing to Van Heusen Park. And remember, every time they changed the park, I had to text my date and her friend and my friend, the 3 of them that were changing locations. So I texted them saying, we're going to Van Heusen Park now. They're like, okay. Even later that night, I get a text saying, we're going to Stony now. I'm like, oh my god, seriously, make up your mind. So I text my friends again, okay, we're going to Stony now. They're like, okay. And this was like 11 o'clock at night, so I'm pretty sure they couldn't change anymore. The next day, we're still going to Stony. I get a call from my friend Connor, and he's like, hey dude, so we're going to Van Heusen Park. And I thought he was kidding with me, because they changed the place already like 4 or 5 times now. He's like, are you kidding with me? He's like, no man, I'm for real. We're going to Van Heusen. So I'm like, oh my god. Are you sure? He's like, yeah. So I texted them, texted my date, her friend, my friend Jacob, we're going to Van Heusen. They're like, okay, we're going to Van Heusen. I get my tux ready, I got my tux on, went to pick up my corsage, and we go to Ryan's house, which we were supposed to. We go to Ryan's house, then we will, like, follow the limo to Van Heusen Park. We get to Ryan's house, and Ryan, tells us, like, okay, we're going to Stony, so you guys meet us there, and the limo's gonna meet you guys at Stony. I'm like, Stony? I thought we're going to Van Heusen. He's like, no. Very last night, we're going, we discussed it, and we said we're all going to Stony. I'm like, well, I got a call from Connor, and he said we're going to Van Heusen. He's like, no, we're going to Stony. So I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. So his mom comes out, too, and tells us we're going to Stony. I'm like, okay, whatever. And Jacob's mom and dad were with us, so they were kind of angry that, like, she thinks that we don't know what we're doing right now. So we finally go to Stony. We paid $5 to get in. We got in Stony. We saw a bunch of couples there for prom, but they weren't our group. No, they were a different group. I call my friend Connor, call my friend Nick. I'm like, what park are we going to, guys? And they're like, Van Heusen. I'm like, are you kidding me? I talked to Ryan, and he said that we're going to Stony. He's like, no, we're going to Van Heusen. And then they were confused, so they called Ellen, the prom leader, and she says we're going to Van Heusen. So I'm like, okay, I got here, I paid $5 for nothing. So then me, Jacob, and his parents drove to Van Heusen, and I text my date, don't go to Stony, go to Van Heusen. She's like, okay. we finally get to Van Hoosen. Right when we got there, our other friends arrived too. So I guess we're taking pictures of Van Hoosen. Pretty much every couple was there, except for my date and Jacob's date and Ryan. But I'll talk about that later in this video. We were waiting for a good maybe 10 minutes or so, and I still didn't see my date. And I got a call from them, her friend, and she says that my date's having her dress malfunction, wardrobe malfunction thing. So I'm like, yeah, sure, just take your time, you know, fix it. And they're like, okay, we'll be there soon. So I wait there for another 5 minutes or so, and I see this girl like next to us, and I'm like, she looks familiar, like I think I saw her before. Then she said, she asked me, he's like, are you E's date? I'm not gonna say her name. I'm like, yeah, I'm her date. And she's like, oh, I'm her sister. I'm like, oh, they looked a lot alike. So I'm like, that makes sense. So she's like, yeah, she's having dress problems. She'll be here in like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, sure. So we finally, after a while, she finally shows, and she looked gorgeous. Her dress was awesome. I looked good too. Just saying, okay. So she finally got here with her friend. I put the corsage on. At first, I was looking at it. I didn't know how to put it on, but it was like a rubber band wrap thing. That's not rubber band, but it was like a armband thing. So I put that on. That was cool. And she put the boutonniere on my jacket thing, and I was so scared because I didn't want to get stabbed because there was like these needle things. But that got on. Took pictures. That was a good maybe 20 minutes. And her dad and mom were there, so her dad kind of intimidated me a little bit. So I didn't want to like get too touchy with my date, because then I don't want him to rip my head off or anything. But I got pretty nice pictures. It was great. It was fantastic. It was good. Okay, it was good. When we were all done taking pictures, my friend Connor got a text from Ryan, and he's like, where are you guys? I'm at Stony Creek. He was the only one. Him and his date were the only one at Stony Creek. Everybody else, okay, there was 20 of us. 18 of us were at Van Hoosen, and he was him and his date were the only one at Stony. So that was pretty funny. Pretty much the whole group went to his house to get him, and me, Jacob, went to prom, the place, and our dates were gonna be at prom, but my date had another dress malfunction, so they had to go fix it again. So right when we got to prom, we stood outside for another 10-15 minutes waiting for our dates. They finally get here. We get in. We had some great food, and the first song they played was a slow dance song, and me and my date were still eating, so we didn't want to rush anything. So she, I'm like, there was probably a lot of slow dance songs, so that'll be fine. We danced together a lot at the prom. I danced with a lot of my guy friends too, which is funny. We took some pictures in the photo booth. Halfway through prom, they played another slow dance song, so I'm like, yes, finally time to get a slow dance with my date. I look over my shoulder, and I see her like booking it, like with her friend, and I'm like, where's she going? When the song's almost over, I go to the prom table, and I see her and her friend eating dessert, and I'm like, oh, okay, hope that's delicious, So she finishes that, we still dance, and prom ends at 11, and it was like 10:50, and prom was almost over, so I'm like, please, I want to dance, I want to have a slow dance with her. Finally, the last song they played was a slow dance song, and I was so happy. I turned to her, and I'm like, do you want to dance? And she's like, yes. I'm like, yeah! Clutch mode, okay? So, I danced with her, and it was, all the stress was worth it. That night was complete when I got to slow dance with her. It was a great time. She looked gorgeous. I did not even look at any other, person there. I just focused on her. She was just beautiful, and I'm sorry if I'm getting a little, gooey or whatever. I don't know. It was great. After that, we went home. I didn't go to any after parties. My feet were sore, dude. They were hurting. So she went home. I went home. My feet were hurting, and I think that's pretty much all what happened at that prom. I had a great time. I think she had a great time. We had a bumpy road getting to prom, but once we got there, it was great, and I will remember that night for a long time. And yeah, that was my prom story. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe comment down below if you guys have any interesting prom stories. I'd love to read them. And make sure you guys subscribe for more videos coming soon. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.